Hey YouTube! Welcome to another video. In this episode, I will share a revision of the new Gen LAN. I have been sharing this design for almost a year now, and the design has gone through several iterations. And in the last revision, the focus is to address east-west traffic, that is, traffic within the home network. That is especially useful for home lovers and of course for local streaming media contents and moving huge volume of files. So without further ado, let's get on with the design. So this is the Gen LAN 2023.1201. The major revision here is the changes to the switch. So this is the previous revision. In this revision, I have shared how to create layer 2 VLAN with terminations with the switch and at the gateway level. I have also added lag between the two switches and how you can avoid those loops. So in this version, I have created two VLAN membership groups. So the first one will be the home, the guest, the camera, isolated and secluded. So it's from 10 to 50 as well as 60 to 90. I have to include the admin in here because I cannot really remove the admin from the gateway. I'm only focusing on these VLAN memberships, and I will be using this admin VLAN just to manage the switches. In here, I will also implement the lag between the switch. So it's full-blown links. And the idea is to get the traffic from one switch to another switch without going through the gateway. Because this will be the bottleneck. So to achieve that, the traffic will just traverse through the link aggregation group. As you can see here, I will also be implementing 802.1x. I think this is a really good implementation as I have shared this in the previous videos. So if you haven't seen that video, I did cover the 802.1x configuration. And in this revision, I will also be implementing 802.1x in the ports. So by the way, for this particular video, I will not be showing the step by step, but I will just go through the test and demonstration how it works, and I will just show the settings on the Omada controller so that I can make the video shorter. So let's head on to the Omada console so that you can see more information regarding this setup. As you can see, these are the devices that I have. It's nothing out of the ordinary. I'm using an OG device, ER605 with 1.3.0. This is a version 1.0 hardware. I'm using an SG2210 version 1.0 with version 1.08 firmware, and SG3428 switch version 2.0 with 2.0.11 firmware. And I will not be using these access points except to show how VLANs are working on each switch. So each switch has one access point. So if you're looking at the mini video, this one is connected here. You can see here SG2210MP, and this one is connected to APO adapter, which is connected to the SG3428. Let me describe how everything is connected. So this is the ER605, and the switches that I will be using is this one, SG2210MP and SG3428. I'm managing these switches via these two independent uplinks from the ER605. So this one goes over here and this one goes over here. These two ports are only VLAN 1, only for managing the switches. And if you say, hey, I'm gonna run out of VLAN 1s or ports if I continue to use this, but what you can do is just have an uplink to one of your managed switches, or even a decent unmanaged switch, one that doesn't strip VLANs, by the way, and then now you have a bunch of management uplink ports. However, these are the two main uplinks that are part of the configuration that is really critical for this configuration. This one covers the half of the VLAN memberships, and this one covers the half of the VLAN memberships. This one is connected here in port 2, and this one is connected to port 3 of the SG3428. For the SG2210MP, I have configured these two ports as 802.1x. Let me just do a ping T. I will start a ping T. So ping T is just a batch file that continuously ping google.com. Now that's started, let's continue with the configuration. So now I will show you how these uplinks are configured and created. Let's start first with these two uplinks. So that's ER605-gateway ports. These two are just for administration only, VLAN 1. So if I click here, VLAN 1. This one, if I click here, VLAN 1. So if you're a little bit confused of what you're seeing here, I highly recommend you watch the previous video about new Gen LAN version 2023.1101, where I discuss a lot of these configurations. So for this one, I have a PV ID of 901 in here because this is the uplink to the switch, and you will see here this is where I have defined 110, 120, 130, 140, and 150. The other one will be the other half, which is 160, 170, 180, 190. So if I go back here, that is corresponding to this. And you have seen the port in here. This is PV ID 901, as you can see here. And this one is PV ID 902. And I will show you the equivalent port uplink in the switches. The SG2210-1050, as you can see the name, this one just helps me remember which half of the VLAN this switch is handling for the uplink. It's handling VLAN 10 to VLAN 50, and this one is handling VLAN 60 to VLAN 90. If I go here, ports, so you can see that the port 1 is just used for management. However, for this one, for port 2, you can see this is a trunk because this is an uplink to the gateway. And let me go to the other switch. It should be very similar. It will have VLAN 1 as the uplink for management. And I'm using port 3, not port 2, because port 2 is at the bottom. And I just want to use the top ports of the switch so it's easier to plug and unplug the cables. Anyway, so I have here another trunk. So now let's go discuss about the trunk. I will emphasize that if you are getting confused about some of the terms that I use here, I highly recommend that you watch the previous revision of the redesign because I did cover a lot of those things there, like non-interface broadcast only VLAN, and I will show that in here now. I have two non-interface broadcast only VLANs, VLAN 901 and VLAN 902. The number of non-interface broadcast-only VLANs is defined by the number of switches that I'm going to have uplinks with. I'm going to show what I mean by non-interface broadcast-only VLAN. This is the 901 VLAN. I need this as a broadcast-only VLAN, so I need to terminate it both at the gateway and at the switch level. And that's the reason why you can see 901 and 902 whenever I click any of the gateway ports. Let's say this one. You can see 901 and 902. The same thing here, 901 and 902. And the same thing here, you can see 901. I use that as a PV ID, but you will also see 902. And then the same thing here. I use the PV ID 902 here, and you will see the 901 here. Okay, so let me just go back to the profiles. So those are the 901 and the 902 VLANs. Also in this video, I will also be introducing what I call non-interface purely layer 2 only VLAN, which is this one, VLAN 800. And you will see that this one is only terminated at the switch level, not at the gateway and switches, it's just at the switch level. And this one, I just use it to mark the ports that will be on the 802.1x for authentication. So this one is nothing special. It's just a switch only. As you can see, it's very similar to the 800 VLAN. So now let me move on to the profiles that I'm using for this particular design. And I will just be discussing all the new ones that I have created custom for this particular design. So let me just go through the 2210 trunk. This is the one that you can see on these uplinks here. These are called trunks. The 2210 is for the 2210 switch. The 3428 trunk is for the 3428 switch. And if I click here, you will have an idea that this one has the native 901 VLAN. And you will remember in the gateway, I have this as a PV ID for that particular leg, for that particular gateway port. And I will have these tagged networks in here as well. It's only limited to the VLANs that I want to receive on that gateway. And these are the configuration here if you're interested to see. Okay, and let me just go here. You can see here the 902 VLAN. This is a non-interface broadcast only VLAN, and in here this one is the 160, 170, 180, and 190. And these ones are all default. The all new, we needed the all new because we cannot use the all anymore, because the all will contain all these other VLANs as well. So the all new is just containing all the VLANs 10 to 90 or 110 to 190 without all the baggages, without all this 901, 902, and 800 and 802. So I have to redefine that so that I will have a new way to uplink new devices using the all profile, which is all the VLANs basically. And the last one but not the least is the trunk for LACP. The trunk LACP configuration looks something like this. I'm using a purely layer 2 only VLAN as the native VLAN in here to avoid any loops. And spanning tree, then I click cancel. So this is the one that is critical to make sure that there is no loop and that VLANs can cross between the switches. Okay, so this is the all new VLAN uplink. As you can see here, it connects to the access point. Okay, so how did I use this one? So if I go here to the devices and I go here and I go to the ports, and you will see that I have a lag in here. So I have an LACP configuration here, and you can see trunk LACP in here. And if I go here to the SG3428, that will be the same. You can see I have lag in here and I have lag in here, and if I go here, I have trunk LACP in here. I have a video discussing about how to configure LACP. If you're not familiar with LACP, I highly recommend to watch that video. So to demonstrate that, I will be using wireless LAN to connect through all SSIDs pertaining to this particular VLANs, so that you will see that I do have those VLANs existing in both switches. In that one, disable this, it will get disconnected, and I'm going to start connecting to the VLANs. So as you can see, I'm currently disconnected. Let's start with the admin VLAN first. Okay, still connecting. Sometimes Windows will disable and re-enable my Wi-Fi, so you will see that only on this PC. So I know this PC is a little bit weird. So there you go. So as you can see, it's having a hard time connecting. It usually disables and then re-enables, and when it re-enables, I'm connected. And let's check the IP address. There you go, 0.106, that is correct. Let me try the 110. Go. Okay, let me try 120. So if you think about it, if you're connected to the VLAN 1 and then you're connected to VLAN 110, which is the other half, I can just skip 120, 130, 140, and 150, and I can jump to 160 to show you that everything is connected. I can do that, but I want to make sure that I show you the full enchilada, because this one is still the new gen LAN, and it will still follow all the ACL rules that I have in here. So for example, the camera. If I connect to the camera, I will have an IP, but I will not be able to access the internet because the camera doesn't have access to the internet. There you go, here. It says no internet in here. So if I go here, I will see that I will have an IP 130. That means I'm connected to the network, but I cannot reach out to the internet. Okay. So there will be no SSID for 140 because this is wired only, but I will have secluded, which is 150. There you go, 150. And once I cross the threshold of 150, I will be on the other half. Let's check the IP. 160. Then moving on to 170. I'll move on to 180. There you go. And last but not the least, oh, let me check the IP first. There you go, 180. Last but not the least, the 190. And then I'll move on to the 802.1x authentication. There you go. That's the last one of the Wi-Fi. Then you can see 190 in here. There you go. Pages. So I have created 3 users for this demonstration that will show that I can go to the admin, to the home, and then to the IoT. As you can see, this is just the management. This is the first half of the VLAN memberships, and this is the second half of the VLAN memberships. And I will be connecting on the same switch, the SG2210MP. Just go to this one. So the way the user and passwords are set up are like this. I have the admin user, and there's user, admin, and then user, and this one is VLAN 1. Home user, VLAN 110 is IoT user, VLAN ID 190 for the authentication. Ports 5 and 6 will be okay for testing. And look at this folder in here every time I plug my cable. So if you're looking at the small video, here is my home PC. Okay. If I remove this one, I will get disconnected. There you go. Now I'll be connecting here to any of the ports here, as you can see, and I'm plugging it here now. There you go. And as you can see here, this one is blinking because sometimes you don't see the pop-up. So let's try admin first. Admin, user, admin, user. User, admin, user. So click OK. It's thinking. My PC is very slow now, but it does get through. And you can see that I will be in the VLAN 1 now. Oh, come on. Show. There you go. And you can see here 192.168.0.107. And I'm in port 6 of SG2210MP. I'm using this one, port 6, and port 6 is currently configured as 802.1x VLAN. Using the same port, I will be transporting to VLAN 110. So I will be removing this one. Here you go, request timeout. Using the same port, I will log in again. So now I will try home, user, home, user. There you go, user, home, user. Click OK. There you go. Now I will be in VLAN 110. Okay. Now let me plug and unplug. There you go. I will be disconnected. Now we'll test the last one. Okay. Will be IoT user, IoT user. And there you go, 190. And now we have access to the internet as well. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. I hope you like this video. I hope you learned something from this video. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you don't like this video, please give it a dislike. But do let me know what I can improve on the video so that I can make those changes. Also, I'm trying to get 1,000 users by the end of the year. So if you would like to further support me, please subscribe to my channel. Subscription is free. Thank you again for watching my video. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you and bye-bye.